Welcome to Prisoner Podcasts. Today we are interviewing the sources, witnesses, and people involved in the Tyler Hadley case. A troubled kid, Hadley was the ripe age of 17 when he murdered his parents in their Port St. Lucie home. After the murder, Hadley threw a party with his slain parents lying on the floor behind their locked bedroom door. With us now is Antonio Ramirez, a former friend of Hadley.
It was a Saturday, I remember. He messaged me on Facebook saying he was going to throw a party. It was out of character for him. I mean, we were friends and all, but he wasn't the party type. His parents were strict about that sort of thing. I recall asking if his parents were going to be there, and he said they'd be leaving soon.
Now we have former high school football star and classmate of Tyler, Mike Young.
I didn't know Tyler at all. I just knew if there was an Addy, I'd be there. Tyler's crowd were known as the Potheads and the Pill Poppers, not necessarily one of the bros. In the middle of the party, one of the skaters stumbled into the room I was in and said, "I smell dead people." I brushed it off, though, because I thought they were just high as...
This is MARKEY PHILLIPS, a friend of Tyler.
I was visiting my grandparents in Chicago that weekend, but I was chilling with Tyler a few days before, watching TV, and he seemed pretty fine. However, I recall a few weeks prior, we were hanging out, and he mentioned he wanted to kill his parents and have a big party after. He said nobody has ever done that before. Throwing a party with the bodies still in the house? Man, that's crazy. I thought it was just a joke, man.
Now that you mention it, can you please describe Port St. Lucie for our listeners who may not be familiar with the area?
Port St. Lucie is known for two things: the New York Mets spring training and marijuana. There is a reason we're called Port St. Lucie. It's a town that primarily consists of young people with nothing to do. The whole mindset of Port St. Lucie is that it's so boring that the only thing to do is throw a party. This town is so boring. It drives kids nuts. There's no role models, and the parents are always on everyone because everyone's stressed about money.
In order to get more information about Tyler, let's talk with Alyssa, a neighbor of his.
I've gone to school with Tyler since kindergarten. Nice boy, and he seemed really close to his family. That all changed when he got to high school, though. When he was younger, he was quiet and difficult to read, but in high school, his personality completely shifted. His behavior seemed eccentric, unpredictable, and troubled. He was really hyper, always trying to pull a crowd. In the middle of a lesson, he would start laughing. He would just blurt out stuff. Once in the middle of class, he started mooing loudly like a cow. Then he started smoking pot in high school. A lot of parents didn't want their kids to hang out with him.
He lit the River Park Wildfire Preserve on fire. It was a big fire. I heard he did it for kicks. I guess there's nothing else to do here. I would have thought he'd have been the type that probably would have hurt animals just for the heck of it. But I certainly would have never got the feeling that he would have been capable of murdering anybody, let alone his parents. He was my best friend. I don't even know him anymore. The party, it was crazy. It was like one of the most amazing parties I've ever been to. I mean, partying with dead bodies sounds super rad. Well, it's not. I saw everything that he did, and I was shocked. The blood was everywhere, and the bodies were hidden under blood-soaked towels. I was scared. I didn't know what to do, so like any rational person, I drank my problems away. I got more scared when Tyler began telling people he was going to kill himself. I couldn't take losing the only friend I had. He was like family to me, so that's why I stole his Percocet pills and called the Crime Stoppers hotline and told them everything that happened.
Now here we have Tyler's brother, Ryan Hadley.
I don't know what to say. We were a happy family. I would have never thought that he would go and kill our parents with a hammer. I mean, I had heard that he was doing drugs, he was stealing, which led to his house arrest, but I can't believe that losing his phone would make him lose his mind. The rest of my family doesn't agree with what Tyler did, but I could never leave him because he's my bro and family is family. I think this is what my parents would have wanted me to do. Now, I have to deal with all the expenses my parents haven't paid yet.
We were called on the case at like 4:30 a.m. We arrived at Tyler's house, and I remember peering through the blinds to see Mr. Hadley talking to himself while pacing back and forth in the living room. We knocked on his door, and he answered looking worse up close. We arrested him on the spot. The house was completely trashed, with empty beer bottles and red plastic solo cups everywhere. When we walked to the master bedroom, it was locked, with dried blood on the frames and baseboard. We busted through the door and found all the evidence of murder we needed. Blood was absolutely everywhere. You could tell Tyler had tried to hide the blood, but there's just too much to clean. In one corner, there was a pile of towels that Tyler had used to clean some of the blood, and under the pile were 2 sets of legs.
I was just living my life as a normal 17-year-old kid, and next thing I know, I'm in the middle of St. Port Lucie County Jail. I ruined a lot of people's lives, and I can't seem to forgive myself. I find myself crying a lot because of all the guilt. Every day I beg for forgiveness, and I ask God not to send me to hell. I don't want to go there. Father Michael told me that if I just confess my sins and repent, then God will forgive me for everything. I just can't get rid of all this guilt. It's swallowing me whole. I'm extremely nervous that I'm going to get a life sentence. It's making me pretty depressed. I want to say I'm really sorry for all the grief I've stirred up. I know everyone thinks I'm a psychopath and all, but I really am sorry for everything. I've been praying every day for forgiveness and for a decent plea offer. I should get one since it's my first offense. I feel extremely bad for Ryan, and especially you and my other grandparents, for the grief I've caused. I feel like Ryan doesn't love me anymore, but I know he does, and he's just going through a rough time. It's so hard going through this. I'm scared, and I feel so alone.
Hambo or hammer time for people. I saw that like he did on the news. That dude is wild. He killed his own parents and had a party with their dead bodies inside the house. It was awesome. When I found about the murders, I was like, wow, I just went to a party of a lifetime. It's messed up what he did, but 20 years from now, I'll be able to say I was there. I hate Port St. Lucie, but that's kind of cool.
Tyler Hadley? Oh, I remember that case. I sentenced him to 2 life sentences, 30 years each, so a total of 60 years. And he's not going to get parole after 20 years.
Personally, I believe that the sentencing was just, especially because Hadley gets parole. His actions were very premeditated. He was very conscious of what he was getting himself into, as shared by the testimonies of all the other people involved in the case. He knew exactly the way that he was going to do it, and that he was going to throw a party, and he hinted it to people several times. And though he was probably intoxicated and or on drugs at the time when he was planning it, he wasn't. And
I agree with Kiana. I think the sentencing was fair because even though he was too young to get the death penalty, I don't know if he should have gone to death penalty anyways, because he is spending most of his life, or the rest of his life, in jail, where he will feel guilty and learn from his mistakes, hopefully. And he won't get parole till at least after 20, so he will spend at least some time in jail for the crimes he committed.
I think the sentence for Tyler should have been harsher. I mean, the circumstances of the cases are actually extremely extreme. Well, he killed his parents, first of all, with the hammer. He took a ton of drugs before, so, I mean, he obviously planned to do it, and he thought he couldn't do it, so he took the drugs beforehand to actually do it. So there's a lot of pretense to actually make him do it, so I don't know. I don't think he should get a parole for this, and I think he should spend life in prison.
I mean, I agree with Jordan. The two life sentences are accurate, but I feel like he should have a parole. Although 20 seems a little too short, I think it should be after 40 years.
yeah, I know that on his letter, though, he seems very apologetic and very sorry. Do you guys buy into that?
Time in prison can change you, but I'm not sure how much it can change you. If you murder your parents, there's definitely something wrong that can't be changed.
Do you think the party was a good way to cover up the murder?
Absolutely not. It drew a ton of attention to himself, so.
All right. So let's remember, if you're going to throw a party, do not kill your parents first. Thank you.